So yesterday was the day that we almost finished filling our raised beds. We didn't have enough soil to finish, and this morning, try as I wanted to, at least in theory, I didn't get everything ready out in time to get more soil before the place closed at 12. But that's okay. It gives me the opportunity to make this video for you guys and to test our soils. It allows me to run soil tests on the woods mixture that we got out of our woods, the bagged stuff that we purchased, and the bulk growers mix that we got. So what better time than now, since I'm waiting for the weekend, to do some soil tests, learn about the structures, the nutrients or deficiencies of all three soils we have going on, to then figure out how to supplement or not supplement and try and make them as best as possible. The soil test that I picked up, I got from our local mom and pop's garden supply store out where we live, but it's also one that I've seen used a lot on other channels and seems to be a very popular one. This is made by Luster Leaf and it is called Rapitest Soil Test Kit. It is a all-in-one kit that tests your pH, your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potash of your soil. This one's pretty cool compared to others I've seen because it has two chambers for you to fill with your liquid, and it allows you to, I guess, not interpret turbidity with your liquid falsely. So it allows you to have your test vial and your control sample to be able to gauge the two to figure out the correct reading. I also like the fact that they come with these little, plastic boxes with lids, and it's something more substantial that hopefully I'll be less likely to lose. The pH test can be done very easily. It's not something you have to let sit and wait. However, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash tests, you really need to make your soil dilution or mixture, let it sit and settle, and that can take anywhere from a couple of hours to even 24 hours. With my cups labeled, I'm going to take my little scoop, go out here and collect 3 different soil samples. I want to make sure I don't collect off the very top of the beds because some soils can be depleted. That's what the instructions say to do. So I'll dig down in there, get a good mixture, and otherwise put my 1 part soil into their each individually labeled cups. Now that we have our soil mixtures here, I'm going to go ahead and take 5 parts water, pour it in each of these cups, stir it up, and then let it sit until it settles. So for future reference here, you might want to do not full scoops here, but at least 5 parts water and 1 part soil is at least a full cup. So I'm just going to fill them up this way now that I know that ratio. At this point, I'm just going to wait and let the soil water mixture kind of settle out, let all the clay and stuff silt to the bottom, and let the nutrients kind of percolate and release coming into that water mixture in the middle. I'm going to set a timer for about 2 hours now. I'm going to go work on some customer orders in the workshop, but I'll see you guys whenever this stuff is settled out and we can begin doing the soil test. It has been about 5 hours since we did our soil and water mixture, and everything has settled out as well as it's probably going to. I have my garden journal here, and I've made myself a little table just so I can track my results, the initial soil tests of the 3 different samples, and it's right here alongside all the other notes from when we started planting our seeds for this year's garden. This is one of those good examples where having a garden journal is pretty handy. At least be able to keep track of your thoughts, have stuff together, and it's one of the reasons that we have one. To run the test is pretty simple. I'm going to use this nitrogen one as an example. You're going to see a dotted line here. This is the level that you fill the container with the water. And you're also going to notice there's a large chamber and a small chamber. Fill both of these with the water to the dotted line. After that, you want to find the corresponding little capsule that's the same color as the lid, in this case purple. Break it open and pour the contents into the small side or the smaller chamber of the test vial. Then you shake it, sit it down, and let it wait for 10 minutes and then read it. After the 10 minutes, you then compare the results on the left with the results on the right, and by color matching you can read whether you have 0 or depleted, deficient, adequate, sufficient, or a surplus of that particular material. The reason you have 2 different chambers in this is that the side on the right is supposed to help colorize your results and get rid of any differences you may read otherwise with the turbidity or color of the water itself. Pretty cool. So the right side is your control and your readout. The left is your actual test analyte. Your pH test is the one that is different. This one you actually run on the soil itself. There is a small dotted line near the bottom. Fill that with soil. Fill the rest with your distilled water. Shake it and then read it. For that, you're just looking at the color scale and you're looking at the liquid from the test. So your pH is a different test, but one that is done much quicker. So looking at the results of the soil test, the wood soil for nitrogen was depleted, phosphorus depleted, potash deficient, and the pH was 5.5. Yikes. Pretty acidic and basically nothing in there but a little bit of potash. The bag soil, nitrogen depleted, phosphorus depleted, potash adequate, and a pH of 7. At least the pH was neutral of the bag soil. It had more potash, but the other two, nitrogen and phosphorus, not really there. For the bulk soil, the growers mix that we bought, the nitrogen deficient, phosphorus depleted, potash sufficient, and a pH of 7 or 7.5. So between all three of these, it would appear that our bulk soil, the growers mix, is the best. However, these results are really surprising. So it's interesting to see that with these three, you're basically not going to get any nitrogen or phosphorus. Mostly they're pumping in potash, and your pH from our woods, super acidic, but stuff you get from the store, alkaline-ish, or at least a neutral pH. That's pretty surprising. I would have expected to have at least more nitrogen and phosphorus in this stuff, but I don't know much about what you want to have. I know certain plants, certain vegetables require certain conditions, so I think at this point it's great. Take my garden journal, take my list of what we're growing, compare it, see what each plant wants or needs, and then amend locally based upon where they're going to get planted here in our garden. Regardless, this was very interesting to see. It was a fun test to do. Well, okay, the test itself was not really fun, but it's fun results to see. I at least know where I'm at now. I have a baseline result for our garden, and we can go from here. As things grow, develop, have problems, we should be able to at least say, okay, I remember XYZ with the soil. This one wants 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's meet in the middle. I can definitely see how doing a soil test is very important. I would have thought the bag soil and the bulk soil would have been perfect. The gold standard, you don't need to add anything to it. Grow whatever you want. Obviously, that's not the case. It also goes without saying we are not expert soil tests. I am not a soil scientist or anything of the sort, so I don't know. Maybe I'm interpreting these differently. Maybe you've got some guidance. You would know what you would add, would not add. I'm definitely open to hear it, and I would love to hear your comments down below. Regardless, hopefully you guys found this video fun, informative, educational, or at least interesting nonetheless. If you got any questions or comments, leave them for us down below. Otherwise, take care. We'll see you guys next time on The Homestead.